Doctor, would you care to assist me in performing surgery on a torpedo?
Fascinating.
One of the hardest things for a crew is to say goodbye. By the time our old crew of actors began working on this film, they already knew it would be the last. So how do we finish strong? How will this crew want to wrap up 25 years together? Will it be a whimper or will it be a victory wallop? Let's find out. I'm Meffistoe. Like, share, and subscribe because this is my review of Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country.
If I were human, I believe my response would be, go to hell.
By the time Star Trek V wrapped up, Harve Bennett, who came in and rejuvenated the franchise with its arguably best film of the series, was gone. Paramount knew that they wanted another film, but they didn't have a story for it. After a lot of soul searching and director searching, they gave Nicholas Myers a second chance. But he didn't know what to do with it either. It was Leonard Nimoy who suggested to mirror the current events of the time and the fall of the Iron Curtain in space. As he said, the Klingons were always considered a stand-ins for the USSR, so why not? From there, Myers took over and crafted the story for this film.
Praxis.
What's left of it, sir?
It begins with the Excelsior, now captained by Hikaru Sulu, getting knocked over by a blast wave that came from an exploding mining moon called Praxis. This moon was under the Klingon territory, and this disaster caused a major issue in the home planet. Apparently, the Empire won't have enough resources for both repairing the damage and keeping its enormous fleet, and they seek out for a peace treaty with the Federation.
The moon's decimation means deadly pollution of their ozone. They will have depleted their supply of oxygen in approximately 50 Earth years.
Spock, who was put in as a spearhead for the negotiations, nominated Captain Kirk to be the captain to escort Chancellor Gorkon to the Federation space and to start the peace talks. Kirk protested, but Spock was unwavering.
There is an historic opportunity here.
Don't believe them. Don't trust them.
They are dying.
Let them die.
The crews meet up for a tense dinner, but Gorkon seems to be pleased that it is Kirk who greeted him. His main general, Chang, was not so pleased. At some point, it seems like the Enterprise took a shot at the Klingon ship and rendered it inoperative. Two men beam aboard and assassinate the Chancellor. Kirk takes McCoy and quickly rushes to try and save the Chancellor's life, but McCoy can't do it, and both are taken into custody.
Don't let it end this way, Captain.
At this point, the movie splits into two. On the one side, it is Kirk and McCoy who first get tried for murder and sentenced to a life imprisonment in the prison colony Rura Penthe. There, they hook up with this shape-shifting alien and succeed to escape the prison.
We don't get many presidential assassins.
We didn't kill Gorgon.
Of course not. But there is a reward for your death.
That figures.
On the other side, the crew of the Enterprise, captained by Spock and his right-hand officer Valaris, begin a detective story to try and find out who really shot the Klingon ship, who beamed aboard, and who shot the Chancellor, and of course, what are those dark forces that are moving in the shadows to prevent this peace treaty from being signed.
That if you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth.
In so many ways, this movie is far beyond your typical Star Trek episode or movie. It has espionage, murder mystery, a prison break, and a thrilling sci-fi adventure. It converted the real-life Chernobyl explosion into the Praxis explosion and compared Chancellor Gorkon into Mikhail Gorbachev. And on both sides, it had a lot of people working behind the scenes to make sure peace won't happen.
If there is to be a brave new world, our generation is going to have the hardest time living in it.
Shatner as Kirk is at his absolute best, both in front of the camera and behind it. Reportedly, the blue-dyed food in the Klingon dinner scene looked very unedible. Nicholas Myers gave $50 for every bite to the actors, and Shatner seems to have cleaned house. In front of the camera, Shatner has some serious moments in which he tells you how he hates the Klingons and how he will never sit with any of them after his son died by their hands.
I've never trusted Klingons, and I never will.
Alongside these serious moments, we've got a few of those light-hearted moments that we had in the past. One example of that is the prison scene, especially when there was an altercation.
I was lucky that thing had knees.
That was not his knee. Not everybody keeps their genitals in the same place, Captain.
The character of Valeris was originally supposed to be Saavik, Spock's protege. Kirstie Alley was approached, but couldn't do it due to scheduling issues with the TV show Cheers. Sadly, Robin Curtis, who played the role in The Search for Spock and briefly in The Voyage Home, wasn't even contacted. At the end of the day, the character was completely changed into Valeris, played beautifully by Kim Cattrall.
A bird of prey.
Bird of prey.
Cloaked?
The highlight of the film is, of course, the main villain, General Chang, played by Christopher Plummer, who tried and probably succeeded in outstaging Shatner. Plummer was cast for his extensive Shakespearean background. This took effect in his demeanor of Chang all throughout the film, whether it was the first time that he met Kirk, or when Kirk was on trial, and of course at the very end in that final showdown.
Cry havoc! And let's slip the dogs of war!
Speaking of General Chang, there are parallels between Wrath and the Undiscovered Country, and that is in its villains. Grandiose, over the top, and generally very operatic. A larger-than-life character that loves the classical literature, especially when quoting it. You can feel Nicholas Meyer's influence on both films. Even though they are telling a different story, both have the same kind of villain. Both focus on vengeance or revenge. Both are bombastic and prideful, and both think they're outsmarting Kirk.
This officer's record shows him to be an insubordinate, unprincipled, career-minded opportunist with a history of violating the chain of command whenever it suited him.
Myers always seems to drag Star Trek into more of a seafaring, militaristic, adventure-type stories, a thing that rubbed the creator of Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry, the wrong way, since he envisioned a more utopian future. In fact, the last time they spoke was in a script read, and they exchanged rather harsh words. Roddenberry died shortly after, and Myers felt so bad he dedicated the movie to Roddenberry. Above all, The Undiscovered Country felt like a real ending for the crew that was together for 25 years. It is still to this day one of the best send-off in entertainment history. We got to say goodbye to the entire crew as their characters and pay homage to them as individual actors. The ending with the signatures right before the credits roll up is so iconic, it was mimicked in one of the other great endings to a crew that was together for a decade in the MCU's Endgame. But as I mentioned, Nicholas Myers had a flair for the old classics. And this time around, it wasn't a villain that took an old classical book and gave us a nice quote. It was actually Kirk himself.
Second star to the right. And straight on till morning.
I highly recommend this movie to any Trek fan that hasn't seen it yet, to a non-Trek fan that wants to get into the franchise as a standalone, and to anyone who wants to experience a solid sci-fi movie that has a little bit more than your typical sci-fi. A brilliant film that is still relevant today after so many years.
And journey to all the undiscovered countries, boldly going where no man, where no one has gone before.
I thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this review, smash that like button to help me out and beat that algorithm. Check out other reviews that I've done in the past, or check out our live Saturday show where we cover all sorts of amazing films, including this one. And remember, hope is a good thing, maybe even the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. I'll see you on the next video.